So ladies, tell me, when were you first diagnosed and how did you find out?
Well, I was 27.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't think nothing about it. I had a lump. I actually asked my boss about it, and I was like, I got some over here on my boob. And she was like, well, Raquel, go get it checked out, you know? And so once I went in, I never had a mammogram. And my sister was like, she's an OT. And she was like, Raquel, you really need to get this checked. So I went in, they was like, well, you're too young for breast cancer, but don't worry about it. Just come back in for your pap smear. So my sister was like, no, this is hard. We need to go get a second opinion and get it checked. So then we went to a surgeon. The surgeon was like, well, we'll do a lumpectomy. And they did a lumpectomy on that Wednesday. They called me back in and they was like, we need you to come in. So I took my mom with me and I was like, what's going on? I got breast cancer? You know, just being like, not for real, but for real, I had breast cancer. But my mom took it harder than me. I think I was still kind of in like a disbelief. And she was like, no, you have triple negative breast cancer. It's a very aggressive breast cancer and you're going into stage 3. So my life just kind of went pause. You heard crickets.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, it was a Friday. I remember the day. It was Friday, January 19th, 2018. I was at work and it was in a meeting and my phone rang and I silenced it, but I saw that it was an 801 number, which I knew that's Kirkland Clinic, UAB. So I stepped out of the meeting and I listened to the voicemail and the doctor said, Miss Sutton, can you call me back? So I knew something was not right. I stepped outside, called back, and they said, I'm sorry, you have breast cancer. I'll never forget.
Oh no, you don't
And it was stage 3. Stage 3.
What type?
HER2 positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also not good.
Yeah.
And I was diagnosed in 2019 at 26. I'd originally felt a lump in November before, and then as in healthcare, I was like, oh, that's not even possible, and boy, was I wrong, and a learning experience for myself. But in February, I didn't go, or in January, I didn't go until my yearly appointment with my doctor, and I mentioned it, and they said, well, you know, it's very unlikely, but we'll go ahead and do our due diligence and get you tested, do a mammogram and an ultrasound and all the steps, the next few steps, and wound up having breast cancer, hormone positive, HER2 negative.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I'm Diane Riley. I don't know, are we saying our names? Okay, anyway. I was diagnosed in May of 2016. I was a traveling healthcare consultant, and I was too busy to get the mammogram. I just was never home, and I was too old, and you know, we didn't have breast cancer in my family, so didn't even give it a thought. But then I had pain. I found a lump, and I had pain, and so every other weekend I would come home and I would get, you know, I got the mammogram, and wasn't good. Okay, and then it was like you got to have the follow-up, you know, the 3D and all this stuff, and the biopsy. Well, I ended up stage 2 triple negative. Okay, and I can you never forget the call. The surgeon called, and it was like, here we are, you know, really mind-blowing.
Mine was also in January on a Friday, and I did not find a lump. I wasn't looking for a lump. I wasn't 40 yet, and so I figured breast cancer is not something that I need to worry about. But my doctor, my primary care physician, wanted me to get a mammogram early because I had family history. And honestly, I put it off because I was like, I don't need to worry about that. But finally, I listened to her. I got the mammogram, and it was just another thing to check off on my to-do list. But then I go in, I get the mammogram, and they have that look on their face. And I'm like, okay, I know what that means. So I had to do another mammogram and then an ultrasound and 3D, all that stuff. And then they said, okay, we need to do a biopsy. And then on January 24th, 2020, I was told that I had breast cancer stage 2. It was hormone positive, HER2 negative. So, and Marie was the second person I called. I called Marie before I called my mama.
Wow.
Because I knew that she had been through this experience.
Good.
And I needed help.
Yeah.
That's sisterhood, though.
Yeah.
No
Oh,
question.
yeah, definitely sisterhood.
Yeah.
So ladies, when you think about, you know, the sisterhood and letting other women know about early detection, what are some tips you would give to women to say, okay, be on the lookout for this, so that women can get, diagnosed or get help early on?
I think you have to stay diligent with your mammograms. You know, that statistic of 1 in 8, they're not kidding. Okay, I mean, it's a very real, everybody knows somebody that's had breast cancer. And I would say, I don't care how inconvenient it is, and it's only 10% that have family history. And so the 90% of us, we're like, oh no, you need to have that mammogram. And you need to be serious about it and follow up.
Yeah, and I feel like I heard a common theme of, oh, not me, I'm too young, or I'm this, or I'm that. I think just continuing to do monthly self-exams too is very important. You know, they say self-detection is your best chance at getting it. So I would just continue to do that, self-exams. Even after I felt diagnosis, they continue to tell me to do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think my biggest thing is check your boobies. Cancer doesn't respect age. It don't care how old you are. A lot of the ladies that I've encountered in my sisterhood has been, one girl was 19, you know, so she was just getting started in life, and 23 in college, and 27, you know, so the ages that I've encountered have been really young, where I think we're at a point now where we need to change laws for mammograms, because like myself, I never got a mammogram.
You weren't old enough.
Right. I had breast cancer. Right. Yeah. You know, I had breast cancer before I ever had a mammogram, and then never experienced a mammogram because I went straight under a double mastectomy. So, you know, so I definitely think we need to change the laws about it and change what breast cancer looks like.
Right. I agree with that.
Yes, absolutely. Because you mentioned insurance, and my doctor had to fight for my insurance to pay for my mammogram because I wasn't old enough, technically. So yeah, we do need to change the laws. Absolutely.
Definitely. I would say know your breasts, like you said. For me, it wasn't a lump. It was a deflation. Like my right breast deflated. And then it just looked different. And so I let the doctor know. They did a mammogram at first. They didn't see anything. So just come back next year. And I came back the next year, and I said, it still looks different. And I just really advocated. He was like, well, since you feel so strong, let's do an MRI.
Good.
Tumors all through.
No, and I think you bring up a good point. Advocate for yourself, because so many people in my journey, they fall through the cracks. Well, they didn't call me back. Well, honey, you just called them and pestered them to death.
Exactly.
Because you have to be your own advocate. This is about you, know your body. Whatever's going on, don't feel bad about it. Just say, I want to know the answer.
That's right.
And that's true, because like if I wouldn't have listened to my sister, once they did tell me everything, they was like, Raquel, it's almost on your chest wall. So they had to go in and scrape all the way to my chest wall. And I can just go back and I just have so much gratitude for her being that big sister for me, because if I wouldn't have listened to her, I would have been dead. You know, and it's really, people take it for a joke, but it's really serious.
It's very serious. Yeah. Very serious.
So after you were diagnosed, how did you go about coping with this, both physically and mentally and emotionally?
All I did was cry. I went from being on the road and traveling to just sitting in a recliner crying. I was just isolated and devastated. It was really hard. It took the wind out of me. It really did. It was such a shock.
Yeah.
It was such a shock. And to be so sick. Yeah.
I felt like for me, I really just had to keep a sense of normalcy. So I worked as a pharmacist. I loved my job. I wanted to not tell patients or people that I was sick, and just maintain that, take care of them, and
Good for you.
so that was really kind of my drive. And then my family that stayed close to me, and then meeting other women through things like this and Forge, and finding people that's going along the same thing. That was really huge for me.
I hated it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. I didn't want people to come to the house. I was in disbelief. I ain't want to lose my boobs. I barely had boobs. So I was just like, I'm not feeling none of this, you know. And I had long hair before. And once I started going through the chemo, people was like, what are you in here for? You're too young. And that's when my light bulb started clicking. I was like, okay, God, what is my mission? And I started talking to God, and I was like, okay, I want my hair back. I'm used to my hair. You know, my hair is my virtue. I said, you send me back my hair, I'll do your work. And when I tell you guys, my hair grew so fast. Like, I've cut it before, but it grew so fast. People were coming up to me, pulling my hair to me. Is that a wig? I'm like, nah, but you was just bald head, you know? So when they start coming to me, I was like, really, God? Is this really what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
So I started reading Samson and Delilah and how the strength came back in his hair.
Wonderful.
And I said, okay, I get it. I got to educate other young women.
I love that.
And, you know, so, and I ran with it. So when people would come to me, I would just be like an open book. And they was like, that's all your hair really grew back? I was like, yeah, won't he do it? But I don't know what I'm supposed to do next, you know? and that's what made us start Pink Tops, because I seen where young women were uneducated about it.
True. Well, your hair is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, hair was the least of my worries.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Marie knew me before this, and I had extremely long, extremely thick hair, and I was sort of known for my hair. And so when people did find out, everyone assumed that I was going to be devastated about losing my hair. But like you said, that was the least of my worries.
Who
I was
cares?
worried about everything else. I was like, whatever, it'll grow back, and even if it doesn't, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was worried about so many other things. But I will say it was the hair that pushed me to actually tell people, because after I was diagnosed, I was going to just keep it a secret. I told my close family and friends, and I told Marie, and that was it. And initially I was told I wasn't going to need chemo, that I was just going to need a lumpectomy and radiation. But then after surgery, they realized, oh, your tumor is kind of crazy, so you need some chemo. So once I was about to start chemo, I knew I was going to have to tell people, because going from someone known for their hair to someone with no hair was going to get attention. So that's when I decided to start telling people about it. And I'm so glad I did, because like you said, once you do that and become an open book, all of these other people start coming to you for help, for inspiration, for encouragement, for information.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that for other women had I not shared my story.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. I found the Forge brochure at my radiation oncology office, and it was just an open door, and I got to walk through it. You meet the most amazing women. You know, what a gift. I mean, I hate that I know you, but I'm glad that I know you, because they are amazing.
Yeah.
Like
It's a
you just
sisterhood.
can't believe. Yeah.
It's a
and I
sisterhood.
have been blessed by that. I really have.
It's the best sorority you never
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's contagious. Like, once you start walking in your purpose, and you know you're walking in your purpose, it's contagious to help somebody else.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, and it's like, hey, what you need, girl? I got you. You want to go try some wigs on? You know, so it's really contagious.
Well, and the thing is, everybody's journey is unique,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I can still listen to you and support you and be there for you. And that's all
Absolutely.
you need. You don't even need to say anything. It's just, I'm your pink sister, and this is forever. That's
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's right.
I agree.
And I got to shout out Jamaisha. When she got diagnosed, her journey, she really brought people in. Well, she walked through it flawlessly, beautifully. I know it was not easy, but just beautifully. And she provided so much awareness around it. And I tell her she's my literary godmother, because she's done so many things with it. Because, you know, anyway.
That's nice. That's a nice testament.
Yes.
That's nice.
So, what's the dumbest question or the dumbest thing someone has said to you when you were going through your diagnosis, or when you told them about your diagnosis? I'll start.
There were so many. I was like, you don't want to know mine.
I got two. So one, I remember, and I'm not gonna say their name, Lord, just in case they watch this, but someone was like, I heard about your diagnosis. My aunt had it and she died.
I love it.
But I'm sure you'll be okay.
Oh, wow.
Then someone who I couldn't even remember their name from high school They came up to me, they saw me out somewhere. Oh, I heard about your diagnosis. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you call me? Child, I don't know your name. Why are you making this about you? So people just making it about them and just saying really crazy things. That's my story.
And you're right, absolutely right.
I had a similar one. It was, my aunt had it, she died, but you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I feel like that was the worst. That or, well, at least you don't have to do chemo. When they initially thought that I wouldn't have to, it eventually did. But I mean, even the women that don't have to,
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't
You have
matter.
a cancer in your body.
Right.
Yeah.
Cancer's cancer.
Exactly.
I hated the, okay, you've done chemo, you've done radiation, so you're back to normal and it's all over.
Right.
And I'm like, you are just full of it. I'll never
Be
that
normal.
person again. And I'm okay with that,
Right.
but I resent that to this day. It took me over 4 years to get all the procedures and all the stuff done. I'm at 5 now, I'm thriving, but
thank God.
you know, it was hard and it's still, and so I want to make it a little bit better for the next lady.
Right.
You know, and I still am mad at those people. I'll say it to the camera. I'm still mad at those people. How dare you insult me?
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm just gonna be honest. My question that I got to me that was ludicrous: does everything else still work? You know, and they was like, well, you know what? I had to understand it though, because sometimes when women go through breast cancer, they go through early menopause, and I didn't understand that at the time. So at first I was like, what the H you mean? You know, because I took it kind of offensive. But then when I got educated, and I was like, okay, this is a fact. Women that go through breast cancer at young ages, go through chemo or go through radiation, tend to have fertility issues, tend to have intimacy issues, tend to be able to have things that they have to get over as far as other humps. And they're young. And see, like me, I was still learning my body.
Right.
So I didn't really understand that question when they asked me, well, do everything work? So when I realized everything worked, I was like, I got this. Okay, it's okay, you know. But it really took me at shock at first until I got educated, and that made me also wanted to educate more women about sexual health when they're going through breast cancer. You know, because we go through a lot of things that we're intimidated about with our breasts being tampered with.
Right.
And it's something that you have to overcome and walk through. And once I realized that you had to be confident and walk through it, new boobs or old boobs,
Right. Or no boobs.
or no boobs, or no
It's
boobs.
okay.
It still works. Everything still works, you know, and you still can have children after breast cancer.
Yeah.
That's why I tell them I produce miracles. God put miracles in me. I had 2 sons. My first son was going through radiation. He was getting radiated in my stomach. My second son was going through the second transition with my remission and COVID. Still came out healthy. So impossible is possible with God. And I tell people all the time, don't put statistics or tell people what they're going through unless you've done that walk.
That's right. I agree
So that
with
was my dumbest question.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That was a bad one.
Yeah.
It was pretty awful. Something that you mentioned about how people think that, oh, you're back to normal now, and not only is your body never going to be the same, but there's so much that you go through emotionally and mentally, and that doesn't just go away just because you stopped or you completed active treatment. And I feel like more people need to be aware of that, and it's infuriating, like you
Well,
said.
and the PTSD is, I had
Yes,
it.
it's very real. Yes.
I mean, I had it bad, okay?
I still
and people
got
do. Yeah, I mean, that was a very traumatic
Right.
event, and people don't get that. You get
Right.
it because
Right.
you understand.
But I think sometimes even cancer patients themselves don't get it. Because
Right.
I will be honest, when my therapist first said to me, it sounds like you're dealing with PTSD.
Right.
I said, what do you mean? Because I felt like that was something that just happened to people who went to war or something. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't go to war. And she said, well, kind of you did.
You did. You don't
did.
think about it, but you
Right.
did. Yeah.
And so I think it's important that even cancer patients realize that PTSD is real and that we need to get help for it.
Right. Yeah, because it, you know, even 5 years now, I mean, I will always be advocating. I will always be a part of Pink Sisters because that's my tribe now, and that's where I want to be. That's where God put me. Okay, for sure. It doesn't, you know, and I believe, I don't care if it's 20 years ago or if it was yesterday, you are still my sister and you still have a journey, you know? Nobody ever forgets that date that you get that call.
Well, I think PTSD is serious among all areas when you experience with breast cancer, because one, you're getting something taken away from your body that you always knew.
Right.
And it kind of feels unnormal. You know, and when you go through that walk, it's like you got to get back your normalcy. Like you said, you had to go back to work to stay normal, to have some part of it in your life. And I think that's one of the reasons why we try to overlook it. But I also recommend counseling when you're going through it, especially family counseling, individual counseling, beauty counseling, because all that is part of it. Because you're having to rebuild yourself. Like you said, you would never be the same.
No.
I would never be that same person.
No,
you know, even though I'm better now, that's still part of my past.
Right.
So who did you all turn to for support? I know you mentioned Forge. What are some other organizations or maybe people in your life that you turn to for support?
Family, church members, just everyone. You know, I talk about how it literally unearthed a community of folks. I felt like I had a choir surrounding me, singing and lifting me up as I walked through this journey. I mean, literally, people I didn't know, I hadn't met, would put hot meals on my doorstep.
Wow.
You know, I work at a university, and the guy who's over food service, he showed up in a truck at my house and unloaded and had so much stuff. We had to get like a deep freezer. I mean, just, it unearthed a whole community, and I just feel so blessed. So I would say everyone.
I would say the same. I was very fortunate that my mother-in-law had gone through the same thing 7 years prior, so she was able to go with me to some appointments, give me some advice on what to wear, what to expect with surgery, help line up people that was able to bring food. Our church community was very involved in helping taking care of me. I mean, and also my husband, you know, not only is it about us, but you know, they go through it too. So people in our lives were able to help him go get dry ice that we used for the cold caps that I used to help save my hair. We had people donate that to us every treatment that I went to, and that was a huge blessing. And then other women that I met my age going through the same thing. It was, like you said, everybody.
Well, I think things have changed. When I was going through breast cancer, I was just the youngest one. People was just like, well, you're too young. We really don't know really what to say to you. I was the youngest case with Brookwood. It was a lot. So I kind of was, like I said, going through it. So I really didn't deal with a lot of people until I kind of got out of my chemo, going into my radiation. And that's when I realized that we need young organizations like Pink Tops, like Forge, because I didn't really have a community that understood my demographics, you know. So they was like, well, you can do this, and I was like, I don't know nothing about that, you know. You talking about, well, you can put a wig. I don't like wigs, you know. So it was a whole bunch of different things that I had to really understand, and I'm so thankful for the new organizations coming and getting involved, because now we have a table where we can talk with younger women and older women. And I feel like that's the biggest thing we needed, you know. Because at first it was just like, well, baby, you're going to have to do this, and I'm looking at them like, no, no, you know. So I'm really thankful that we're taking a look at all women.
Good, yeah. Now, I was a traveling consultant, so I didn't have a community. I mean, my church tried to help. They would bring the food. I couldn't eat it, you know, but I mean, and they'd bring it to the door and I'd leave it, and I'm like, I'd really rather just have the company. But, you know, people don't know what to say, and I respect that, okay? And my poor husband, it was harder on him. It really, and I got better, and he has Parkinson's, he doesn't, okay? And so, you know, you were dealing with that, but when I found Forge and I got plugged into the breast cancer community, and I found Casting for Recovery, and I just plugged in and went for it. And COVID has just really slowed me down, because I used to every week have something breast cancer that I was doing, and just getting that love from my fellow sisters.
Well, I went through treatment during COVID, so that meant I couldn't have people over or go out to see friends or go to Forge or anything.
Right.
And so that was really hard. I felt very lonely and isolated in a way, but then my community also found a way to be there for me, even virtually.
Good.
So my cousin, who's like a sister to me, she would text me every day. And during chemo, when I was sitting in the chemo chair, she would text me the whole time. I was sitting in the chemo chair so that we could just talk back and forth. My husband was amazing, best caretaker I could have asked for. And people were just sending me gifts. So even though people couldn't come over, every day there was something on my doorstep.
Nice.
A gift from somebody.
Nice.
Or they were sending me cards or encouraging messages through social media. And so I was really fortunate, even though I had to go through treatment during a pandemic, I was really fortunate that people still found a way to make me know that I was loved and that they were praying for me and that they cared about me.
Good.
That's amazing. You went through that through COVID, though.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because COVID was crazy.
Yeah.
Still is.
Still is, yes. That's why I'm like, get your shot. Get your shot. Please get your shot. Don't come around.
So ladies, what's one thing you wish people would know about breast cancer?
Well, I tell you, it does not respect your age. I don't care how old you are. You know, check your boobies, get your husband to check your boobies, get your mama to check your boobies, whatever you need to do, check your boobies. And at this time, with me having a daughter named Rose that's 13, I'm teaching her now.
That's right.
You know, because she has to get her first mammogram at 16.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
because-
that's good that she can now. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
But to me, my biggest take home is check your boobies. And when you see something wrong, go get it checked. Don't overlook it.
No, and that applies to men too. I have met men with breast cancer.
Me too.
And they don't speak up.
Yeah.
I mean, they just sort of sit there like, okay, I don't want to talk about it. But they get it too.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. I mean, it's such a real. I mean, like I said, everybody knows somebody that has breast cancer. And my takeaway is it could happen to you.
Yeah, that's true.
It could happen to you.
I feel like that's the biggest thing too, you know, cancer does not discriminate against age. So if you have any concern at all, just get it checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I would say that too. It's just crazy. Since I got diagnosed, so many women instant message me, oh my gosh, I have it too, or I just found out I have it. It was almost overwhelming, because it's like, my God, this thing knows no respect of person.
No.
And so that's why it's so important to have awareness around it. Because another thing people would say to me is, I think I'm going to get my first mammogram because I see you got it. So it's very important.
That's
good. Yeah, because my sister's dear friend just got diagnosed. So, gosh, the earlier we can find out, the better.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that it's also important for women of color, Black women in particular, to be very, very vigilant about this, because studies have shown that even though Black women get breast cancer around the same rate as white women, we are 41% more likely to die. 41%.
Statistically, that's true. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And so I think it's really important that we talk to other Black women about being vigilant about this.
Yeah, another thing, we get diagnosed at later stages.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when the doctor told me I had stage 3, I was like, whoa, when was I stage 1 and 2? What, you know, gosh. And so you're right, as African American women, we've got to go to the doctor, because I specifically remember a period before I got diagnosed that I was like, I'm too busy to get a mammogram. I'm good. And years passed by. Stage 1, stage 2. And then here I was diagnosed at stage 3.
And that's crazy you said that, because I was like, what was I doing when I had stage 1? You know, like how was I supposed to find it then? You know, so.
And I think it's those routine mammograms that finds the stage 1. It's the people that deviate from that miss the stage 1.
Right.
Or too young.
Or too young to get a mammogram.
right.
Too young to even get a mammogram. Yeah.
That's right. Well, as as a person of color, I remember specifically during 2018 thinking about what specific differences there were for me going through cancer. And there were two things I could think of. One, there are statistics that say that a lot of times black women, when it comes to pain, we're under-medicated. And so I found myself in the doctor's office, I don't have a high tolerance for pain, I need you to make sure that da-da-da-da. So I talked to my doctor in a certain way to make sure that they don't discount me.
Right.
And that they understand that my body feels pain just like everyone else's. And then I also remember that year there were a lot of police shootings, a lot of black bodies that were being broken and destroyed. And here I am fighting for my black body. And I remember driving in my car and being kind of chemo drunk and saying, oh God, what if I get pulled over by a police officer? I need to say, okay, I'm going through cancer. I didn't mean anything. You want to see my scar? So I remember as a black person going through breast cancer, those were some of the things I had to grapple with.
That's hard.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was wearing this sleeve. I was like, look, this don't match the attire. And it started off as just a regular color brown sleeve, and I was like, this not my skin tone. I was like, I'm not feeling this either. You know, so my biggest thing was trying to get comfortable with my new best friend.
Right.
Plus my other new best friends.
Right.
You know, so it was just like, look, we got to find some kind of way where we all can just get along. And I got to the point, and I said, Raquel, walk your truth. If people gonna love you, they gonna love you regardless.
Right.
You know, I said, so just walk your truth. And once I started walking my truth, it wasn't no wigs for me. It wasn't, hey, all I needed is some eyelashes and eyebrows. Make sure I have that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't no wigs for me. I had a brush cut. I mean, it was waves. I was like, yeah, I got them waves, you know? So I just start owning it. And then once I found out about Lymphedivas, I can get pretty sleeves. I was like, oh, this is my new shoe game, you know? So you know, I just had to find ways to really find laughter in it. And to kind of sometimes not look at the bad part and look at the good part that I'm still living. Because one of the ladies that was by my side, I just knew she was going to live forever. And when she passed on me, I was just like, no, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, and that's when it really started clicking to me that some women don't make this battle.
That's right.
You know, so if you make this battle, you're favored by God.
That's right.
Live it every day.
That's right. You are here
know.
for a purpose.
Yes, you're
You are
here for a purpose. Yes.
You are.
And keep
I think that's true.
living in honor of those who did.
I think you do.
Absolutely.
I think you do.
This experience has opened my eyes tremendously like that. You know, we have to live every day like
Yeah.
this is our last. And that has really been a blessing to me and the hardest journey of my life to be able to wake up every day and say, I'm still here. I still have things to do. And to me, that's been a blessing.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we can, there's still the triple negative reoccurrence is on my mind.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
And people don't get, you'll get it, but most people don't get that, you know? I mean, it's out there,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I mean, I don't worry about it every day, but most every day.
Or just
I worry about it every day.
Yeah, if you have a weird pain, that could
Exactly.
possibly-
Exactly.
My doctor knows me. I'm like, I'm feeling a certain kind of way. So yeah, I'm very adamant about
Yeah.
pain.
And I don't even hesitate, you know, I want a chest x-ray if I have a cough.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I want an MRI if I have a hip pain, and I don't want it to be sneaking up on me again if it happens, you know, kind of thing. And that's that advocacy. Listen to your body,
Right.
and stand up for yourself.
I've had to learn that through this experience. You know, I've learned to, if I know something's wrong, to speak up for myself, and that's also been huge for me.
What about your confidence and your relationship with your body? You kind of touched on this a little bit, but how did breast cancer shift your confidence or change your relationship with your body?
I'm so in charge now. I mean, I was always confident, but now I know I know way too much, and I'm okay with that. I was in healthcare for 40 years, but when you're a patient, it's different.
Yeah.
And so now I know it from both sides, but I know especially from the patient side. And I absolutely know the DNA, and my doctors are okay with that because I'm going to go in and go, and I have my list, and we talk about every little thing because I want to be way ahead of the game, and I also want to help other people be ahead of the game with this.
I would say I've gone through phases. Initially, after getting my mastectomy, I kind of went through a morning where I looked in the mirror, my hair's thin, all my eyebrows didn't return, or my eyelashes, and I don't have a right breast. I'm like, this is all that remains. But then, through prayer, through just being grateful to be alive, I'm like, look at all that remains. Beautiful. So it's like I've gone through a journey because you mourn losing your breast.
Yes, you do.
You do mourn that. And even now I'm like, am I crooked? But
I'm perky.
Team no bras.
You might want to edit that.
So I have gone through that transition, and now I feel like I'm in a good place now.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I have to say, before, I didn't like it. Y'all know I already expressed that. But my daughter came to me one day, and because she started seeing me naked, so she was trying to understand what was going on. And keep in mind, she's about 5, 6. And so she had her Barbie doll. And she was like, Mama, your boobs look like the Barbie. And then a light bulb went off. They do. Barbie doesn't have the full, So once she said that, I was like, okay, this is how we're going to have this conversation. So I was like, okay, Rose, yeah, mommy boobs look like Barbie. They're not going to look like other women because of the breast cancer.
Right.
I said, but guess what? Barbie looks good.
Yeah.
You put clothes on Barbie. You put clothes on Barbie. Barbie got Ken. We look good, So,
Right.
and that was our way that we kind of got through it.
Good.
So now she's not uncomfortable looking at my body development and comparing it to her body development because it's different up here, And once I realized I was able to have that conversation with her, I was like, okay, this is another truth you got to walk in, Raquel. And I just started owning it.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like the whole process, it was very hard to get used to what my body was changing into, try to wonder what it would look like afterwards. I felt like during chemo, it changed the way I smelled, the way I looked, my eyebrows, my everything. It just seemed to change everything about me. So it really took a lot of time to embrace it as I was going through it, try to do things to make me feel normal, draw on my eyebrows, which I wasn't good at. I'm sure one's crooked right now. Just really had to just do every little thing that I could to try to feel normal and get through that. And I feel like now I am in a good place, to where I appreciate what I have and the body that I now have. And I know I've accepted it's different than what it was before, but I'm thankful to be here and
Absolutely.
have what I have.
You pretty.
Thank you.
She is pretty.
You pretty.
Yeah, I had a lumpectomy, so I didn't have to. I really had to get used to just scars, and that was.
Well, that's not easy
I
just to
know,
get used to
that was
scars.
But I will say with chemo, that took a lot. Getting used to no eyebrows. That bothered me more than losing my hair. Losing my eyebrows, but I got good at drawing them on. I got really good at drawing them on. And I think for me, it was a challenge to learn to trust my body again.
That's good.
Because I felt like, you just woke up and decided you were going to make cancer cells.
Yeah.
Like, you want to act up now?
And so it took a while for me to learn to trust my
That
body.
is true, because I said to my cancer surgeon, why don't I feel sick? And she said, if you were sick, it'd be too late. But then you do get sick with all the treatment and stuff.
Right, exactly.
You are like, well, I didn't know.
Right, exactly. Like, how long were you even doing that? I had no idea.
And there is a real betrayal, I
Yeah.
think.
So I had to get over that. But once I did get over that, I got to the place of really loving my body and celebrating it because you made it. You walked through this, and so it was definitely a transition.
True.
So, this is my last question for y'all. So, I remember being in a chemo chair, and this woman who had the same diagnosis, same stage, she said, getting cancer for me was a gift. because it created an awareness of my blessings in a way that I hadn't had before. So for you, what was the gift you got from cancer?
I ain't get no gift.
It wasn't no blessing. Now, I'm a better person.
Yeah.
But I ain't grateful. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah.
It sounded good when I was in that chair.
Yeah.
See, and I would just be, I don't want to hear it.
Way, I feel like I can relate some, but slightly differently. I feel like I was gone through a lot of hard things in my life, just trial after trial after trial,
Yeah.
and just at times wondering, God, why? What's going on? And then I felt like on this side of things, after having breast cancer and getting to the other side, going through treatment and everything, I have on this side feel like, thank you, God, because honestly, it made my cancer journey a lot easier than it would have if I had not gone through every single hard thing I had before. And for that, I'm very grateful.
That's good.
Well, I didn't get no gift. I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't get no gift. But as I got through the journey, it made me very grateful. You know, I'm still not really a big fan of the new boobs. It's just a day-to-day process because I liked my old boobs. I was okay with them in a swimsuit. These I gotta have Pacific swimsuits. You know, so certain things like that I really don't care for. But the gift that I will say that I did receive, it made me feel like a glow up. If that makes any sense. Before, I wasn't really a voice. Like, I worked, I graduated college, I was just doing normal. But once I got out of my walk with breast cancer, I had a purpose to live.
This is true.
You know, so it made me kind of glow up. It made me want to be the best mother I can be. Like, I'm having these miracle children where I should have died and they should have been here, or these type of scenarios that was not in my favor, where these children are healthy and whole. You know, so when I see God work like that, I look at my children and they like are my biggest gift. You know, like every time they just give me so much joy, even though they be everywhere. You know, but it's just a different type of joy, and then the fact that I was able to experience that motherhood and continue to be their mom.
Right.
So my biggest prayer is, God, let me live for my children.
I know.
You know, if I can live for my children and continue to spread the word and help others, I'm okay. But no guilt.
I understand what she's saying, but I feel like the gift wasn't from cancer. I feel like it was, you know, in the Bible it says that God will take whatever situation and work it out for good.
Okay,
and so I feel like that's what happened.
I agree with that.
Cancer didn't give me a gift.
No.
Forget cancer.
That's good.
Right? No, cancer didn't give me a gift, but God took that situation and brought something good.
I like that.
Okay, I receive that.
I
receive that.
Because it feels good to have a purpose.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it feels really good to make a difference. To talk to that person that was just diagnosed and go like, you can do this.
Yeah, that's true.
And all you have to do is call me and we'll be there.
And just let them know they're not alone. They're not alone.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
You got a whole
huge.
community that look like you.
Yeah.
You know, so that's true.
Yeah.